third season of the now Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser podcast. We changed things up a bit with a name change, and the podcast is full of diverse guests who have fascinating stories of how they are leading their own lives, taking risks, serving others, and loving the lives they lead. They will share how they lead their own lit-up lives, how they achieved inner peace and joy, and the work they did to get there, and continue to do to stay there. Join Debbie this season as she digs in, shares how she started and continues to love herself, love those around her, and love the work she feels called to do. This season, you will hear some real and deep areas of Debbie's life as she shares the work she has done and continues to do to lead her own life in the hopes that through her experiences, you might be able to move into a more lit up life yourself. Listen in as she shares experiences, stories, and tools to help you. Now let's get started. Hey there, welcome back to the new podcast, although it's somewhat the same format, but the podcast is now called Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. I am super excited to introduce this concept to you. We'll still talk about faith and how that plays into things, but it's really about leading the life that we can create. We are the creators of our life. And for me, I need to tap into spirit. I need to have guidance to be able to know what it is that I was set here on this earth to do. And that's what I help people do. And so it just felt right to change the name. And so I appreciate all of you that have been listeners in the past and are now listening as we change things up slightly. I don't know why I'm distracted always by that little circle from my light in my glasses. So I apologize as I keep moving my face around for those of you watching the video, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what does it mean to lead a lit up life? And, it's taken me a while to get to the point where I love who I am and I love people around me. And I've always had a love for others in all of the work that I did. Part of being a servant leader is helping others be the best that they can be. And that's how I expressed my love to the folks that I've worked with in the past. But it also, I found that there's some core wounds that I had and some beliefs that potentially I had interpreted things in one way because our subconscious brain can only accept messages. It can't reject messages. So our conscious brain can accept messages, reject messages, and also innovate and be creative, which is also somewhat of our heart. But our subconscious brain can only accept messages. So sometimes the messages that our subconscious brain interpret are not correct or flat out not true. And so what happens though is in the subconscious brain, our brain then creates a belief out of that message that it receives. And the belief then creates the habits and the actions that we take. Now, why is this so important to understand? Well, I don't know about you, but I know in my life, I've had goals that I have done and I have said, I'm going to do this and I stick with it for a little while and then I stop. And I sabotage myself. And I don't like the word self-sabotage because a lot of times, I am sabotaging myself, but a lot of times I couldn't figure out why. Why could I not stick with this? Why could I not stick with the discipline? And to say that I didn't have discipline was untrue. I did. So what I found is there are core beliefs that I had to change. There were double binds that I had to break away from and let go of. I had to become aware of that first. And then I had loyalty pacts to those that I love. I don't want to make my mom or my dad wrong. I don't want to make those people in my life that I love wrong. And my mindset, if I did certain things because that person believed one way or that person was not able to achieve that then I was making them wrong. So it's a consistent path that I go down to uncover those things. So again, for me, leading this lit up life, I had to really take time to listen. I had to slow down to speed up. And you've heard me say that before. I had to discern and really create this level of trust within myself, to trust myself and my own discernment and my intuition. I then had to make decisions and let those decisions drop in and feel really comfortable with those decisions, and then create action. And so the action is really about the law of cause and effect, because if you think about that, we're always in cause. There's always an effect of our actions. It just depends on what effect we want, whether or not we're willing to change the actions. So part of that is mindset and part of that is discipline. But we have to uncover and really dig in to figure out what the beliefs are so that we can change those beliefs to change the actions and the habits. So again, for me, leading this lit up life is doing all of that work. And some of this is hard. Some of it is digging in and healing core wounds that I've had, life lessons that I've had, reprogramming my self-conscious so that my subconscious so that my beliefs and habits and actions do change, and really learning to love who I am, becoming my own best friend. And that allows me to open up and love people in a broader, deeper way, and connect in a broader and deeper way. So this lead your own life will still focus on then how that helps us lead others. But ultimately, the guests that you're going to hear, they're going to talk about how they took risks, how they did the work to figure these things out and stepped into things that now have created this joy and this peace in their life. And it's not an everyday thing that I always feel peaceful and joyful, but I now catch myself that much faster going into old habits, and I can unwind it with a lens of curiosity, not judgment. I can look at it and go, that's interesting. What's the cause of this? Where am I going with this? What still needs to be healed? What's hooking me? And really be relevant with my feelings. So part of what you're going to see this season are guests that talk about this. And then I'm going to delve into some of the work that I've done. Some of it's messy. Being human is messy, and it's a vulnerable state to be in when you start sharing some of those shadow sides of yourself, when you start digging in and sharing some of the wounds that have happened to you through life. And I've lived a blessed life, don't get me wrong, but we all have wounds. And then there are also cultural norms, there's familiar norms, there are messages that we hear all around us that can create fear or love, and create in us messages that sometimes we're not even aware that we're getting. So we'll talk a lot about that during the season. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm also going to break down and share with you. There is a group that I'm involved here with, a shout out to Responsible Living with Jeannie Burgess, and she leads that program. And her sister, Kathy Holm, has been pretty instrumental in my work, as well as my best friend, Barb Peruce. So I want to throw those names out there. And so I'll be talking about some of that work that I've done with them. But I want to share these guiding principles that this responsible living group lives by. And it's been instrumental in changing my life. So part of what you'll see is there'll be a podcast with me, then a guest, then with me. And I'm going to do some series. I don't know if that's even a word. I'm going to do a series on these 12 principles and share with you what it means to me, and some things that have happened in my life to help me understand what it means and how this lives out, how it's applicable in order for you to then go lead your life. So I'm just going to simply read these to you. So these guiding principles say, number one, I will be 100% responsible for myself and to others 100% of the time. Notice the words there. For myself and to others. So not to get too ahead of myself, but we'll get into that in the next podcast. Number two, I will have fun. It's important to have fun in life. Number three, I will not ask why. Why is not really important. Why is only important for learning. It doesn't mean that there's not a place for asking the question why, but if I'm dealing with my feelings, if I'm dealing with digging through some core wounds, it's not as important to understand the why, because the why pushes me back to my head. It's about understanding my heart and getting to the core of things. Number four, I will stay current with my feelings, mad, sad, glad, and afraid. Number five, I will be direct and confront in a loving manner. in a loving and gentle manner, excuse me. Number 6, I will tell the undisputable truth. And if I can't do that, I will at least be honest. Now, let that resonate with you, but we'll talk about that in a podcast because this one tends to be confusing to people. I will solely do my work and no one else's. I'm not going to rescue people. I'm not going to try to be the persecutor in the victim game and try to be right, although that's hard sometimes, because that tends to be an area that is a constant for me. And we'll talk more about that. Number 8, I choose win-win mentality. I will not support or play the victim game, which is win-lose mentality. When we go into guidepost number 8, I will share with you a little bit more about the victim game. Some people call it the drama triangle. And we'll talk about how that can internally happen in yourself very quickly, but also how you can manifest that. And how do I want to say this? And also demonstrate that, which I don't want to be in the victim game. And so it's about how you pull yourself out of that as well. Number 9, I will choose forgiveness. What I won't let go of today, I will manage in a loving and gentle manner. And number 10, I will use I statements, be specific, and use the listening model at all times. The listening model is simply saying, so what I heard you say was, and repeating back to someone, and you can repeat word for word, or if you're trying to interpret something, but it's an important tool to be able to help people know you're hearing what they're saying. And again, we'll talk more about that. Number 11, I will maintain the confidentiality rule at all times. So when I'm speaking with clients, when I'm speaking with people that are working through emotions, working through projects to get through those emotions, and when I'm involved in the group itself, it's also about keeping those things confidential. I will be sharing things that I've done because it's my story, but I won't be sharing other people's stories. I may share, oh, I have a client that struggled with X, Y, and Z, but I will never tell someone's name. And if I share a story, it's because I've gotten permission to do so. So just a caveat there. Number 11, is that I will maintain confidentiality rule at all times. And number 12, I will remove any blocks that keep me from loving myself and others. And so as we go through this season, I'm going to talk more about these guiding principles. I'll talk about the victim game. We're going to dig into some transactional analysis and really touch on a few things that are in the training program that I have out there called Lead Your Life. And if you're interested in taking a look at that, I would suggest to go out to my website at www.3, and that's all spelled out, vconsulting.com, and just go under how you can work with me. And that program are all of these tools, the tools I've learned at Gonzaga in not only my master's program, but now what I'm teaching to other people. It includes tools from this responsible living group, as well as tools that I've learned through my spiritual life and my business life. And so my goal would be that my hope would be is that you would listen along and that these things change your life as well and are tools that you can use on an everyday basis. So with that, thank you for tuning in. I can't wait for season 3 to get started. Our first guest will be Naomi Barton out of New Zealand, and she's going to talk about how she pivoted and is leading her lit up life. And then we'll talk to my business coach, Amira Alvarez, who also leads an incredibly lit up life. Anyway, there are more to come. And so I look forward to this season. Thanks so much for listening and have a fantastic day.